Everyone, we have a pretty big amendment out of the CTA plan. This is the 51st amendment to the Consolidated Tape Authority plan. 51st amendment is another big one that's been working on for like the last 10 years. This is the Joint Industry Plan Order instituting proceedings to determine whether to approve or disapprove the 51st amendment to the Joint Self-Regulatory Organization Plan governing the collection, consolidation, and dissemination of quotation and transaction information for NASDAQ-listed securities, specifically traded on exchanges on an unlisted trading privilege basis, or UTP plan. So basically the participants, when it refers to the participants, are going to be CBOE BYX, CBOE BZX, CBOE EDGA, EDGX, CBOE Exchange, FINRA, the Investors Exchange LLC, Long-Term Stock Exchange Incorporated, which they are defunct, but they're listed in a 2022 filing. This is Salomon alumni. MEMX LLC, MIX Pearl, NASDAQ BX, NASDAQ ISC, NASDAQ PHLX, the NASDAQ Stock Market, New York Stock Exchange, NYSE American, NYSE Chicago, and NYSE National, the participants. But there's no listing of the trade reporting facility that takes up most of the volume, but that's another story. Anyways, this order institutes proceedings under Rule 608B2I of Regulation NMS to determine whether to approve or disapprove this amendment. Now I'm just going to go through this real quick. The summary of this amendment, what they're looking to do. Basically, the proposed amendment amends the definitions of news service, subscriber, and vendor to add competing consolidators as a source of transaction reports and quotation information. So competing consolidators is a new loophole, basically. The proposed amendment adds a definition of primary listing exchange, which means the national securities exchange on which an eligible security is listed. It's redefining basic things. The proposed definition further states if an eligible security is listed on more than one national securities exchange, primary listing exchange means that the exchange on which the security has been listed the longest. The participants explain that this definition is being added to comply with the requirement of the MDI rules and to replace the definition of listing market. Not sure what the MDI rules are yet. I'll look at that later. But if you want to, look at it, there is a website that I'll link in the description that explains it a little bit more further. Now, the proposed amendment amends the definition of quotation information to define it as all information with respect to quotations for eligible securities required to be collected and made available to the processor, competing consolidators, and self-aggregators. That's another new phrase they've came up with. Pursuant to this plan, including all data necessary to generate consolidated market data. Similarly, the proposed amendment amends the definition of transaction reports to mean all information with respect to transactions and eligible securities required to be collected and made available to the processor, competing consolidators, and self-aggregators pursuant to this plan, including everything to make necessary to generate consolidated market data. The participants explain that these amendments are intended to track the MDI rules more closely. And again, this is the only reference you get to this, so I'll have to dig and look up what this is. But if you want to look this up, just type in 86FR at 67541 in Google and it should come up. Section IV, administration of the plan. We're not going to talk about that. That's basically all they're going to do, just a bunch of very basic things. But where it gets interesting is they're actually talking about decentralizing from the market. Both commenters argue that the proposed amendment contains provisions that would be irrelevant under the decentralized consolidation model. So there's a decentralized model. Yeah, and so the processor role, they're about to go to T0, I'm telling you. The processor role is being removed for the decentralized consolidation model consistent with the MDI rules. So I'm going to go look into these MDI rules and I'll get back to you guys. But anyways, big shit here. Big shit.